A photograph, torn at the edges, shows a group of Japanese soldiers clustered outside a bunker, faces pale under the harsh sun. The caption reads, "After the crocodile assault, nothing remained but ash and silence." Yet the bunker walls, built thick and deep beneath the Pacific Earth, should have withstood any assault. How was it even possible that a British tank could turn steel and concrete into smoldering ruins? A broken radio intercept, barely legible, crackles with frantic orders. "Retreat!" The fire spreads. No containment. Flames licking the air, the smell of burning oil and flesh mingling in the humid jungle. This was no ordinary battle. What was the secret weapon that shattered the illusion of impregnable Japanese fortifications? In early 1944, as the Allies tightened their grip across the Pacific, British engineers and strategists faced a grim problem. Japanese bunkers were designed to resist everything: artillery, bombs, even direct tank fire. Conventional weaponry was failing. The solution came from a perilous innovation: mounting flamethrowers on Churchill tanks, creating the fearsome crocodiles. These machines were born from desperation and necessity, blending raw firepower with the ancient terror of fire. An engineer's blueprint dated March 1944 reveals the bulky flamethrower apparatus strapped alongside the Churchill's main gun, capable of projecting a jet of burning fuel over 80 meters. Yet, the question remained: could this fusion of armor and flame truly penetrate what years of Japanese fortification knowledge had built? Was this a turning point or a reckless gamble? The Crocodile was no ordinary tank. Churchill Mark IV chassis, armored thick enough to shrug off most anti-tank weapons, was modified to carry a fuel trailer, carrying 400 gallons of thickened flamethrower fuel. The mechanism expelled a torrent of fire with a pressure system that could ignite bunkers from their entrances to their deepest recesses. Its main gun remained, but the ORF, flamethrower's terrifying range and intensity, redefined close combat. Still, the system was cumbersome. The fuel trailer was vulnerable, and the tanks moved slowly through dense jungle terrain. A top-secret report from a squadron commander warns: vulnerability lies not in firepower, but in fuel supply. How did tactics evolve to mitigate these weaknesses? Could this terrifying weapon survive the brutal island warfare without becoming a sitting duck? On February 23, 1945, the 79th Armored Division deployed a Crocodile unit during the assault on a heavily fortified Japanese bunker complex on Okinawa. The initial plan was cautious: use flamethrowers to flush defenders before infantry advanced. But what happened defied expectations. According to after-action reports, the flamethrowers turned the labyrinthine concrete bunkers into blazing furnaces, forcing Japanese soldiers into panic and surrender or immolation. Survivors spoke of walls melting and fire crawling underground. The air was thick with smoke, the sound of crackling flames replacing gunfire. Yet, radio communications intercepted by U.S. Navy pilots hinted at chaos and disbelief. The fire cannot be stopped. It consumes everything. How did the Japanese command fail to anticipate such devastation? Were their fortifications truly obsolete overnight? Japanese forces responded swiftly, adapting their defensive doctrine. Memoirs from a Mitsubishi engineer describe hurried modifications: internal fire breaks, floodable chambers, and reinforced ventilation shafts designed to starve flames of oxygen. Infantry tactics shifted too. Assault teams armed with incendiary grenades and smoke devices sought to disrupt Crocodile targeting. Training manuals captured in late 1945 revealed detailed instructions on minimizing the flamethrower's impact. Avoid clustering, maintain dispersed firing positions. Yet, despite these efforts, the psychological impact was profound. Radio chatter from a Japanese battalion, commander, intercepted and fragmented, reveals a growing terror. Fire. Unstoppable. It eats through iron and stone. Why did these countermeasures fail to blunt the crocodile's edge fully? What was the true cost of the psychological warfare unleashed? By mid-1945, the crocodiles had become a symbol of Allied dominance in the Pacific. Resources poured into their production, tactics refined with each engagement. A declassified map details the progressive reduction of Japanese-held territory as crocodile units spearheaded assaults across Iwo Jima and Okinawa. But the strain on crews and machines was immense. Fuel shortages and mechanical failures were frequent. Protocols mandated tight coordination between infantry and flamethrower tanks to avoid catastrophic losses. Yet, behind the official lines, reports tell of crews haunted by the destruction they wrought, standing amid smoldering ruins where no enemy remained. Was the crocodile an instrument of liberation, or a harbinger of a new, terrifying kind of warfare? What shadows did this fiery innovation cast over the final chapters of the Pacific War? Each episode is a document I pull from the dust of the archives. Share your own stories. Many of you have relatives who lived through that time, and your words help connect personal memory with archival evidence. Stay curious. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode tomorrow. In the aftermath of the Okinawa campaign, hidden within the depths of a British military archive, a faded report surfaced describing the eerie silence that followed crocodile attacks. Soldiers noted the absence of traditional resistance, not the usual hail of bullets or desperate charges, but an overwhelming stillness, broken only by the hiss of flames and the crackling of collapsing structures. One photograph, blurred but haunting, captures a scorched bunker entrance, its iron door twisted open as if forced by an unseen inferno. The report's author, an intelligence officer, mused on the psychological toll. The crocodile does not merely destroy fortifications, it annihilates the will to fight. How did such a weapon alter the battlefield's psychology? Could fire wielded in this way become a weapon beyond mere physical destruction? A clandestine interrogation transcript from a captured Japanese officer reveals fragments of a conversation about the crocodile's terror. The officer admits, with a tremor in his voice, that no amount of concrete or steel could withstand the flames that crawled into every crevice. Yet beyond the physical horror lay a deeper fear, the unpredictability of the weapon, the crocodile's ability to strike unseen, to turn hidden bunkers into death traps, shattered traditional defensive confidence. The officer's words hinted a broader strategic collapse. Our maps and plans were rendered useless. Fire consumed not just men and weapons, but hope itself. Was this psychological warfare a deliberate facet of the crocodile's design, or an unintended consequence that changed the nature of combat forever? Meanwhile, Allied engineers studied captured Japanese bunker remains, meticulously measuring burn patterns and structural failures. Detailed blueprints annotated in margins reveal attempts to understand how flamethrower fuel penetrated defenses, through ventilation shafts, drainage tunnels, even microscopic cracks invisible to the naked eye. One engineer's note reads, "Flamethrower fuel behaved like liquid fire, seeping into the very bones of the structure." This forensic approach unveiled a chilling truth. No bunker was truly secure. The very architecture of Japanese fortifications, crafted for resilience, became a conduit for destruction. How had decades of military engineering been undone by the simple, devastating chemistry of flame? Was this the beginning of a new era, where fire reclaimed its ancient role as the ultimate weapon? Reports from British tank crews recount the challenges of operating crocodiles under relentless jungle conditions. Thick humidity corroded mechanisms, tangled undergrowth slowed advances, enemy snipers targeted the vulnerable fuel trailers. Yet, footage captured by war correspondents shows tanks advancing steadily, flames erupting from their nozzles like dragons unleashed. The roar of burning fuel mixed with the rattle of machine guns created an unearthly battlefield symphony. A radio log from a squadron commander reveals a grim acceptance. Each mission risks losing the crocodile, but without it, the front cannot move. Could the high risks and logistical nightmares of the crocodile deployments have been justified by their tactical impact? Or did desperation fuel the flames that burned so fiercely? Japanese counterintelligence documents, recently declassified, expose frantic efforts to decode and counter crocodile tactics. They reveal a series of experimental defenses, fire retardant coatings applied to bunker interiors, water reservoirs strategically placed to douse flames, and even primitive chemical suppressants. Yet the reports also confess failures. The fireproof paint cracked under heat, water supply lines were targeted and destroyed. A sketch found among these files depicts a bunker interior, marked with areas most vulnerable to flamethrower attack, alongside notes on emergency escape routes. Despite ingenuity, the crocodile's relentless inferno overwhelmed even the best-laid defenses. How close did these measures bring the Japanese to neutralizing the threat? Was the crocodile's dominance inevitable, or merely a matter of timing and resources? In a rare survivor's memoir from a Japanese infantryman captured after a crocodile assault, the horror of facing these flame tanks is recounted in vivid detail. He describes the suffocating heat, the roar that drowned out cries, and the desperate scramble to escape burning tunnels. Yet, amid the trauma, an unsettling reflection emerges. We feared not just death, but the erasure of our very existence, our homes, our memories, consumed by an unquenchable fire. This personal account adds a human dimension to the strategic narrative, fire as both weapon and symbol. How did this elemental terror reshape the Japanese soldiers' experience of war? What did surviving, or witnessing, such destruction mean for the men who lived through it? A series of intercepted communications from a Japanese rear command station, partially recovered from a burned-out radio shack, reveals mounting desperation as reports of crocodile attacks arrived with increasing frequency. The transcripts, fragmented and punctuated by static, capture frantic voices ordering reinforcements and supplies to remote outposts, only to receive word that entire garrisons had been reduced to ashes. One message stands out. Flamethrower tanks breach all defenses. Evacuation impossible. Bunker interiors engulfed the accompanying map, smudged and marked with red ink. Charts a shrinking perimeter of control, dotted with blackened symbols where crocodiles struck. How did such rapid territorial losses affect Japanese strategic planning? Did the command ever grasp the full scale of destruction, or was it blinded by hope and denial? Meanwhile, Allied after-action photographs document the grim aftermath of crocodile operations: charred corpses, twisted steel, and collapsed earthworks. One image, taken by a war correspondent embedded with armored units, shows a Churchill crocodile silhouetted against a fiery horizon, its flamethrower nozzle still glowing red-hot. The caption reads, "The dragon that roared through the Pacific." But these images also reveal something less visible: the scars etched not only on landscapes, but on the soldiers who operated these machines. Letters from tank crews, kept secret in unit archives, describe the psychological weight of wielding such destructive power. One crewman writes, "We deliver fire, but sometimes I wonder if we are burning more than just enemy bunkers. What haunts us most is the silence after the flames die." Could this internal conflict among operators have influenced the effectiveness or deployment of crocodiles? What was the unseen cost of mastering fire in modern warfare? At the same time, intelligence reports detail a covert British effort to perfect flamethrower fuel mixtures, aiming for longer burn times and greater penetration. Chemical analyses recovered from battlefield debris show a thickened petrol compound, mixed with tar and other additives, to cling stubbornly to bunker walls before igniting. An engineer's notebook, discovered in a forgotten storeroom, describes the painstaking trials. The goal is a liquid that flows like water but burns like hellfire. These improvements transformed the crocodile from a terrifying weapon into a near unstoppable force. Yet, behind the technical triumph lurked a question. Did the Allies fully anticipate the long-term implications of flooding battlefields with such incendiary substances? What environmental and human legacies did these fiery assaults leave behind? Japanese field manuals captured late in the war reveal attempts to train soldiers in flamethrower counter tactics, including rapid evacuation drills and the use of improvised barriers. One illustration depicts a soldier deploying sandbags and wet cloths to seal bunker entrances under fire. However, a confidential annotation warns, these measures provide temporary relief only. Sustained assault with crocodiles will overwhelm. Defenses. The manuals underscore a grim recognition. The crocodile had shattered traditional notions of bunker invulnerability. Yet, the persistence of these countermeasures indicates a fierce will to resist, despite overwhelming odds. How did frontline troops reconcile the fear of fire with their duty to hold ground? Could determination alone slow the advance of such a merciless weapon? Finally, a recently declassified Allied field report from July 1945 offers a chilling glimpse into the final stages of crocodile deployment. Commanders noted that while the tanks were instrumental in breaking Japanese strongholds, their use was increasingly limited by logistical constraints, fuel shortages, mechanical wear, and the growing intensity of Japanese counterattacks. A hand-drawn operational map, annotated with supply routes and fuel depots, highlights the delicate balance required to keep crocodiles in the fight. The report concludes with a stark warning. Without sustained fuel and maintenance, crocodile effectiveness diminishes rapidly, threatening to reverse gains. This strategic vulnerability raises a pressing question. Was the fiery terror of the crocodile ultimately a fleeting advantage or a permanent shift in warfare's deadly calculus? What lessons did commanders draw as the war edged toward its devastating conclusion? In the final days of the Pacific conflict, crocodile units faced their most grueling tests. Supply lines were stretched thin, crews exhausted, and enemy resistance fiercer than ever. Yet, in the dense jungles and rugged cliffs of the last Japanese bastions, the crocodile's flames continued to devour hardened fortifications. A surviving squadron commander's journal, found decades later in a forgotten locker, recounts the harrowing reality. Each mission felt like walking into hell itself. The fire was relentless, and so too was the enemy's will to resist. A faded photograph accompanying the journal shows a lone crocodile tank, its fuel trailer battered, maneuvering through a scorched landscape. Despite mechanical failures and dwindling resources, these tanks embodied a terrifying fusion of innovation and desperation. How did these final battles shape the legacy of the crocodile? Was the blaze it ignited a symbol of ultimate victory or a warning of war's brutal evolution?